The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
I need you to knock some sense into me. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I don't always agree with everything.
All right, enough of this persiflage.
So, you want my question?
I'm certainly not going to get myself in trouble by telling you what to do.
That makes great sense. Gosh, that's good.
That I overwhelm you with words and wisdom?
I've got 7 kids. I feel like I could call you every day.
Wait, you're telling me I'm wrong? Disconnect.
Yes, I am, Dr. Ray.
You just need to tune in to Dr. Ray, honey. He's got all the answers.
Am I right or am I right?
Probably.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
At least she said probably. She could have said possibly, maybe, long stretch. Thank you for joining me. I'm kind of upset. I came into the studio here, and there was a whole bunch of people in there talking about stuff, and everybody's trying to act real intellectual. And I listened. I sat there and listened. I wanted to get into the conversation, with the people. But what I found out was it was frustrating. It was very frustrating because they were all trying to talk intellectual, sounding smart. They were talking about Mozart, okay? Again, kind of like, cosmopolitan type stuff. And I said, have you people ever even seen one of his paintings? I mean, I had to straighten them out. I did. Okay, real nice to have you here on The Doctor Is In on this particular variant of The Doctor Is In, which is E Person Monday. Now, when I use these particular letters that come in, I always say to the person, I addressed your E-person on an E-person Monday. And if you missed it, you can go to AveMariaRadio.net Radio Archives. That's where they all are. Put them all there. Well, I try to talk to text. And as Andrew, my producer man, Andrew Kruchek, informs me, this E-person variant has been for about 11 years now we've done this. And for 11 years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, I have talked to text, and never, not once, has the talk to text got it right. It's always each person, enter person, and I go E, and I stop. I even stop. I go E, and then it puts in E. I don't know. Is it me? We just don't talk anymore. I talk to text. We just don't talk anymore. You have a lot of experiences when you work at a mental health center. I worked at a mental health center as an intern out of Kent State. We had to do a couple years worth of internships. One was at Akron Child Guidance for me, and the other was at the Columbiana County Mental Health Center. In those days, it was just a big old house, and we had multiple rooms in this big old house before we moved to a much larger facility. And during that time, I was there for, I'd say, about 10 years. And for the most part, we were the mental health facility for the whole county. If you had some circumstance, some situation, you wanted therapy, you wanted counseling, you wanted a court-ordered evaluation, you came to us. As a result, whoever came in the door, we saw as clients. At that time, I was 26, 27 years old, been there for a couple of years. And some of the veteran therapists were there. We had 4 or 5 PhD psychologists at the time. Right now, PhD psychologists are mostly in supervisory roles. But at that time, the psychologists were the linchpin of the therapy staff. We used to play nickel-dime poker, me and several of the guys, at lunch. We go to one of the offices and we play nickel-dime poker. One particular day, we got a call. Now, don't take this wrong. This could be easily misinterpreted, misunderstood. Don't mean it this way. While we were playing, one of the secretaries called up and said to one of our players, Jim, your client is on line 2, and she sounds extremely distressed. He took the call. However, it was also his turn to deal. So, okay, you can take the call. You can discuss the situation with her while you're dealing. You can do that. But then he also won the hand. And by the end of the call, she was quite settled, feeling much better. And I said, Jim, you're my hero. You took a call from a distressed client. You dealt, and you won the hand. You're a therapy god. Another time, I was sitting in one of the upstairs offices. Now, these were old bedrooms. So there was a door. You came in off the hallway into the office. A gentleman had come to the clinic, and I don't remember if he came on his own volition or that he was, in fact, brought there by the police. But he was 6'6", and around, I would estimate him to be 320, 6'6", 320. He sat down, and he put his hand with his fist down on the arm of the chair, which meant that his forearm was perpendicular to the arm of the chair. Now, this forearm pretty much looked like a sequoia. Roughly the same width as a sequoia. I was in charge of the intake. I had to find out what the situation was, where we were going to go with it, what we would recommend. I got the intake. I had an hour free at that time, and they said, we're gonna send Charles to you. Okay. So Charles came up. I didn't think anything of it. I was sitting behind the desk against the wall. He pulled the chair up in front of the door, blocking the door. Now, even though I was only 27 or 28 years old, my psychology spidey senses started to kick in. So I said, Charles, what brings you in? He looked at me. It's kind of halfway between a stare and a glare, and said, why are you going around town tearing out the page from every telephone book with my girlfriend's name in it? Now, if I would have said, Chuck, I'm not doing that, he would have gotten even angrier. He would have looked at me and said, I know you're doing it. They're all missing. Now, in psychology parlance, that was a delusion. Chuck had a history, as I found out later, a long history of in and out of psychosis. And at this particular time, he was floridly psychotic. He was, in fact, losing contact with reality. And add to it that he had to be 6'6", 320. Now, I don't think there was enough of us in the whole mental health facility at that time to restrain Big Chuck. So what did I say? I said, Chuck, what is it that makes you think I'm doing that? Those pages are missing. How many phone books did you look at, Chuck? Well, I don't know how many. So you think I'm the one who did that? Yes. Why do you think I would do that, Chuck? Do I know your girlfriend? Well, anyway, one thing led to another, and after a while he calmed down. Maybe he decided it wasn't me, but it was somebody, that's for sure. But once it got past not being me, my voice returned to normal. I came down from 7 octaves, and started to sound like this. As opposed to this. So after that interview was over, I went down to Sandy, our secretary, receptionist. Sandy, were you aware of why Chuck was here? She said, well, I probably should have gotten an inkling when the police brought him in. Aha! Aha! Why me, Sandy? Well, Ray, I knew that you've been a weightlifter for a long time, and that you're pretty strong and you can handle yourself. You're not your basic psychologist that wears a tweed coat with patches on the sleeves and smokes a pipe. I said, well, maybe I'm stronger than the average psychologist, but I don't know if I'm as strong as a 6'6", 320-pound dude. She said, okay, the next time one comes in with that situation, I'll refer it to, and then she mentioned one of the other psychologists. I said, okay, that's fair enough. So there's an awful lot that goes on inside that mental health center, because when you get folks that are coming in from all walks of life and all situations of life, oh gosh, you see and hear it all. All right, when we come back, this is E-Person Monday. I'm going to head straight into the E-Persons, and by the way, they're much safer than some of those situations I ran into at the mental health center.
The doctor will be with you in just a moment.
Underwritten in part by the following nonprofit.
Are you paying high prices with a traditional health insurance company that pays for things that violate your conscience? There's an alternative available. Solidarity HealthShare is a community of faithful individuals and families that never share into immoral medical services, all while saving you money with prices starting as low as $85 per month for singles and $512 for families. Never fund another abortion with your healthcare dollars. Call 844-313-4999 to learn more.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Hello, Steve Ray here from Footprints of God Pilgrimages. Want to celebrate some amazing anniversaries this year in France? We'll visit Normandy Beach to celebrate our heroic military for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Also, the 100th anniversary of the canonization of St. Therese of Lisieux. Join us this October for our Saints and Shrines of France and a visit to the newly renovated Notre Dame Cathedral.
Find the Ave Maria Radio travel tab at AveMariaRadio.net.
There was no single event. It was more gradual. Eventually you don't go one Sunday and then you don't go 2 Sundays in a row. Then went through a divorce and ended up being a single parent. If I didn't have church or God, I would be back at that lonely stage, that trouble stage. Whenever you get anxious and worry about things, you just know that Jesus has it under control.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church for any reason, visit CatholicsComeHome.org.
This program brought to you in part by Ave Maria, Florida, a big kind of small town where golf carts take you everywhere and there's always something fun around the corner. Discover championship golf, resort-style amenities, and a town center full of shopping and dining. With Ave Maria University and Ave Maria Catholic Church at its heart, it's a community full of connection and charm. More than 25 model homes are available for viewing. More information can be found at AveMaria.com. That's AveMaria.com.
Dr. Ray Guarendi here. Program Doctors In, Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. My producer man, Andrew Kruchek, is handling all the duties here, especially E-Person, where he takes care of everything. No questions to answer via the phone, but a lot of questions to answer via my phone, which is where the E-Persons are. Dr. Ray, I have a quick parenting question. Well, I don't know how quick it is. Might be a quick question, but my answer isn't that quick. My wife and I have 5 children, 3 of whom are teenagers. Mm-hmm. We have been trying to allow them to self-regulate screen use to 2 hours per day. Okay, stop right there. Stop the tape. We have been trying to allow them to self-regulate screen use to 2 hours per day. Now, obviously, that means the kids decide. Parents suggest a 2-hour limit, and the kids decide, well, okay, but something on there real interesting, I may stretch that baby. So self-regulate means essentially, it's a nice way of saying the kids determine. He says, this strategy obviously has not been working. I could understand that, truly understand that. My wife finally figured out how to regulate their screen time through Apple. All right, I don't know technically enough about that. When we had 7 teenagers in our home, this was, how many years back? 15, 18 years back. So we didn't really have these matters. This has caused a small zombie teen apocalypse. Very well put. Nice. Zombie teen apocalypse. Can you be more specific? Lots of nastiness and threats toward us. All right. Again, let me interrupt. First lesson to be learned is that if you count upon a teen's self-control regarding screens, you may have a 6% chance that the screen is going to the teen's going to self-regulate. Teen screen, self-regulate, 6% chance. The other 94% are going to get pulled in. Why? Because the screens are designed to do that. They pull in everybody. Got the best minds in the world figuring out how do I totally, completely capture you. Video cocaine. Then they decided, all right, we're gonna put some technical limits on this. We're gonna figure out we can't trust the kids. Now, see, I'm reading between the lines there. It also says this: to put limits on the screen is going to involve some kind of technical intervention because they can't enforce it otherwise. Now, for whatever the reason, whether the kids won't cooperate, and I'm wondering if this is all 3 of them, I don't know, or whether 1 or 2 of them are much more intense about this than the others. Either they won't cooperate or they'll sneak. And so parents figure out the only way to make certain they won't go beyond our 2-hour limit, and I'm going to comment on that for a second here, is to put some kind of technological limits on it. Now, if they would have asked me, you think 2 hours is reasonable? I'd ask them, is there anything else in the kids' lives that they do for more than 2 hours a day? That's the first question. Secondly, what kind of screen time? Am I sharing thoughts about Dostoevsky's War and Peace and how I like the original Russian translation better than the American one? Or is this TikTok, social media, and even less admirable and virtuous stuff, which I think it is. So the 2 hours is a lot. That's a lot, especially given that they're in school, I'm assuming, and that's apparent later in the letter here, that they are in school. So they come home. Now, They probably come home at 4 or 5 because I'll get to that in a second. So you basically got 3, 4, 5 hours at night before whatever bedtime. Do they take it to bed? Do they gobble up those 2 hours of the 4-hour family time or 5-hour family time that they have in the evening? Obviously. I could do it at school. So they're putting their 2 hours in at home after school. And if they have any kind of practice or anything like that, it's 5:30. Then you eat, whatever homework, and the rest of your time you spend in your room on your screen. Not good for family cohesiveness. Lots of nastiness and threats toward... I want to know what those threats are. I really would want to know what those threats are. And the other thing they're finding out, if you want to know how obsessively attached a kid is to his device, take it. Or in this case, just even put a limit on it and watch the reaction. In this case, lots of nastiness. What are you going to do about that nastiness? What are you going to do about the threats? My son, who I also coach his wrestling team, refused to go to morning workouts with his team this morning. What's my next move? Are you kidding me? All you had to do is make one nasty response to me putting a 2-hour limit on you, which is excessively generous. Just one. And that screen, for me, in my home, I can't tell you what to do. I'll tell me what to do. Would be gone. Gone. Now, it sounds like many, many parents, there's a fear factor involved here. How far will these kids go? They're already making threats. He's already saying, I ain't gone to wrestling. You can't parent in fear. When you find out that something you've allowed is extremely detrimental to your family and your children's well-being, and you want to stop ingesting the poison, but you're so scared of how intense the reaction will be from the kids, you can't parent. You might as well just let them do what they want. When you have to make a decision that they're going to hate like this, you're going to have to endure some stuff, and you're going to have to really set some hard expectations. You know what, son? Your screen time is gone. If this is what you act like, nastiness, disrespect, threats, and refusing your commitment, if this is what this does to you, there's no way I can allow this. Now, of course, what will the kid do? Will he run away? Will he bust up something in the house? What will he do? And that's what keeps parents walking a tightrope. Anxiety over what will happen. But you can't parent if you're going to say, well, I'm so afraid of their reaction that I can't really do what I need to do, which is to say, with this disrespect and these kinds of threats, that stuff's gone. And you'll get it back when I think that you are cooperative and pleasant and committed to what you committed to, which is your wrestling team. Now, would I advise that on the basis of this email? No. I might advise it if they came into my office as a client. And I certainly know what I would do as a parent. But they have to make that decision. And it sounds like they're going to have to live with the repercussions on that. Lots of threats. That's an unsettling phrase. What kind of threats?
begin now the EWTN Family Prayer with Father Joseph.
Family, a prayer that we pray together is a powerful prayer. So please pray together with me our EWTN Family Prayer. Today we pray for the caregivers of the sick. O most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we adore you. You have first loved us, and through your Son you have taught us the excellence of self-giving love. Give to those who are caregivers of a sick parent or child, brother or sister, the assistance of your holy angels. Lessen their burdens and give them great joy in practicing a work of mercy. And since charity is never forgotten by you, reveal to them their heavenly reward. Amen.
Christ is the answer, with Father John Riccardo.
I repeat, I'm sure ad nauseum to the guys who are here, a line from Pope Benedict Emeritus now, who used to say over and over again, to be a Christian is not the result of an ethical choice, but the result of an event, an encounter, a meeting with the living God in the person of Jesus Christ. This and nothing less is what it means to be a Christian. So we said the new evangelization is new in ardor. That's a kind of old-fashioned word. What in the world is ardor? Ardor is zeal, fervor, passion. Are you passionate about Jesus? Passionate about Jesus. Are you zealous for Jesus? Are you fervent for Jesus? Are we fervent for the gospel? Are we passionate about helping this world come to know him?
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
I told him about the woman who came to me and said her two children hadn't spoken to each other for 2 years. Their grandma died and she was very wealthy. She left half to each one. She said they're arguing over a commode. She said it's inlaid. Can you imagine being in hell and somebody saying to you, what are you here for?
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Thank you for joining me, Dr. Ray Grandi. E-Person Monday, variant of the Doctor is in. Hi, Dr. Ray. I don't have to tell you that's a female appellation. My husband and I live right next door to his parents. In parentheses, she says, right next door. All right. This is a Marie and Frank Barone with Ray and Deborah Barone. Which, they must be Italian, because that's the law. You can't live more than 3 houses away from your parents. He has a cordial but strained relationship with them. All right, so that's the context. Context is not an easygoing relationship. Recently, his parents asked us if some of their kids, his siblings, my husband's siblings, and their kids could stay with us when they all come back for a family visit. Okay, let me stop right there. I, not uncommonly, will get a call from a relative who is saying, I'd like to set up a schedule appointment for my daughter. How old is your daughter? She's 32. Or, my son has said that he would like some counseling, so I'm calling to inquire about setting up a meeting. Now, you know what I say pretty much close to 100% of the time, unless there's some extenuating different circumstances? I say, well, that's great. Have them call me. Now, how often do they call me? Maybe half the time, maybe, stretching it. They call me more than typically when somebody sends an email to me and I say, please call the radio show. Those, you get about 20% return call, maybe. But that's my way of saying, sure, let me find out what's going on from them, And that's my way of screening whether, in fact, it is primarily the younger person's idea to come in rather than the parent. All right. My husband is the oldest of 8 kids. Each of them have growing families. So space is filling up quickly at my in-laws' house. Now, does that mean all of the kids are going to come in? Some kind of a family reunion, get together? I mean, you're looking at, 7, I'm assuming 7 married couples with their kids. My husband said that they could stay with us. And here, okay, I didn't see this coming, but apparently he's taken a page from my therapy book. But they need to ask him, not go through the parents, to arrange it. He thinks this is a healthy boundary and common courtesy if you're planning to stay at someone's house. So do I. What's my opinion matter? But I agree with him. Absolutely. Perfectly reasonable. And even if it were not perfectly reasonable, there's a factor involved here. It's his house. So he has the right to decide who can stay there. He could say, well, I can have 2 of them stay. I can't have 5. I can have 1 stay. Or he can even say, I can have my sister stay because we get along, but my brother doesn't talk to me, hasn't talked to me for 3 years. He can do all that. It's his house. Okay, wait. I just anticipated this. Another reason my husband feels this way is because there isn't a lot of communication between siblings either. Again, they're cordial and friendly in person, but when they go back home, there is almost no communication. That's interesting. 7 siblings with virtually no communication? You would think that you'd get along better with a couple of them. So I don't know what that is. The only thing I can think of is that our letter writer here and her husband have decided on a kind of a religious embrace of the faith that the other siblings just don't understand or don't agree with or don't like. I mean, there's got to be some common denominator here. My husband does try to reach out to his siblings, but it's very one-sided. Recently, we had a baby. No one congratulated us or asked how we were doing. Wow. Well, you got some dynamics going on there. It would be real interesting to know what all those are. Recently, we had a baby. Was this baby number 5, 6, 7, 8? Is that part of their look that we can't relate to you people? But then she said this, and it was very hurtful to both of us. No, please, don't let it be hurtful. This is who they are. If none of them decided to reach out, congratulate you, say how you doing, that's really a reflection on them. That's no reflection on you. Don't ever let stuff like that hurt you. Because you can't control that. If somebody's going to be obnoxious and difficult and thoughtless and unpleasant, okay. All right, but you're not going to have the power to hurt me. I recognize what you're doing stinks, but I don't have to absorb it. Because of all this, my husband feels like he's being used. Well, I don't think he has to feel like it. I think he is being used, okay, flat out, for a place to stay. And he also doesn't like that his parents are setting it up. What are your thoughts, Dr. Ray? Is this a healthy boundary? Especially considering that we live right next door. Living right next door doesn't have a whole lot to do with it. It might say that you have to try to get along with them a little more because they're right there somehow every day. I used to always say, well, this isn't the neighbor lady 6 houses down the street. This is your mother that you have to get along with. Well, now it is the neighbor lady 1 house down the street, and it is your mother you have to get along with. But I think it's absolutely legit to say, sure, have them call me. And you know what I think is going to happen? I don't think they will. If they have basically no communication whenever you reach out, why would they call? I think if there's some kind of social propriety left in them, they'd be embarrassed. I don't talk to my brother for a year at a time. We don't answer his texts. We don't say anything. But, oh, by the way, can we stay at your house? Because we want to save some money on a couple nights at a hotel. No. I think you're being very generous letting them stay at your house. There's nothing that says you have to. And it isn't, quote unquote, the Christian thing to do. That would be a stretch. I think you could very legitimately say, yeah, have them call. We'll see what we can arrange. That's very kind. And I got a feeling you ain't going to get a call. And you know what else? It's very possible that Mom took it upon herself to call you because they didn't want to call you. Interesting. Some dynamics there. Why would all 7 of his siblings basically be semi-incommunicado? There's got to be something that you're different from them about across the board.
The Catholic Church teaches that Jesus Christ is literally and wholly present, body and blood, soul and divinity, under the appearances of bread and wine. St. John the Apostle records the John chapter 6 Bread of Life discourse, in which Jesus states that his flesh is true food and his blood true drink. Who better to understand John's writings and subsequent teachings than a disciple and student of John, St. Ignatius of Antioch? In his letter to the Smyrnians in 110 AD, Ignatius writes, I have no taste for corruptible food, nor for the pleasures of this life. I desire the bread of God, which is the flesh of Jesus Christ. And for drink, I desire his blood, which is love incorruptible. The Catholic Church absolutely follows St. John and St. Ignatius in taking Jesus at his word. Examining the truths of the Catholic faith, this is faithforensics.org.
What is prayer? The Catholic Catechism defines prayer simply as the raising of our mind and heart to God. Humility is the foundation of prayer. When we pray, do we speak from the height of our mind and will, or from the depths of a humble and contrite heart? It is only when we acknowledge that we do not know how to pray as we ought, are we then ready to receive the gift of prayer. St. Augustine points out that when we come to the well seeking water, Christ comes to meet us. He first seeks us and asks for a drink. His asking arises from God's desire for us. God's thirst encounters our thirst. He thirsts that we may thirst for him. Where does prayer come from? Scripture most frequently cites the heart. If the heart is far from God, the words of prayer are in vain. This is Peggy Stanton, and this has been the Order of Malta's Minute with the Catechism.
Oh, my wife the other day, I said, honey, I don't know how hot you have this dryer on, but I think it's making my clothes shrink. She said, well, Ray, I don't think it's a dryer that's making your clothes shrink. I think it's a refrigerator. I said, okay. You know, one of the things we do in the weight room, somebody will come, it's very common. The average woman right now in America, last I saw, is 164 pounds. Average male's 196. Also saw a statistic that said that the average ideal weight in somebody's mind is 20 to 30 pounds over what would be their ideal weight. Now, again, ideal weight is it's a squishy concept because it depending upon how much muscle you have, depending upon a whole lot of factors. But typically, it's not unusual for people to say, no, I don't want to get down that low. I'd look like skin and bones, when in fact, they would look just perfectly fine. One of the things that my brother and I ask with people who come in and who want to work out and want to start dropping, because you're not gonna drop weight by just working out. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to watch your intake. So what did you weigh when you were 22? Now you're a full-grown adult at 22, for the most part. And they'll tell you, well, I was 176. Well, what are you now? 232. Well, what's your goal? I want to get down to about 205. 205. Why 205? Well, that's where I think I look good. I look good at 205. I go, well, that's still 30 pounds over your 22-year-old weight. Yeah, but you're a kid then. No, you're not. You're an adult. You're an adult male. Yeah, but you kind of thicken up as you get older. Your bones get thicker and you just get thicker. You do get thicker. The question becomes, what does that thickness do to? I'm 170 pounds. I'm not tall. I was taller, but I'm not tall now. I've lost about an inch of height. So say I'm maybe 5'8" at 170. You look at the height-weight charts, I'm very close to overweight. Very close. I mean, body mass, I'm at like 29, which is right on the edge of heavy body mass. Well, I've lifted all my life. So what did I weigh at 170? Or what 22? Is about 170 pounds. That's what I was. So there's just that interesting thing. Now, why did I go off on that tangent? I don't know. Just decided to fill up some time. Let's see what we got here from this gentleman. My 76-year-old mother has signs of severe dementia and is in the hospital for another fall. Now, just to parse that line, signs of severe dementia would mean that she has had signs of moderate dementia and she's had signs of mild dementia probably for some years. If she's in severe dementia at age 76, pretty good chance this has been coming on. The hospital said that she was dehydrated. They want to discharge her, but she can't live alone in her apartment anymore. Yeah, it depends essentially on how confused she is, how mentally able she is to make even the most of everyday decisions. I am not making excuses, but as her only son, I am not in a position to offer her a safe environment because she needs 24/7 eyes on her. Okay, that's not making excuses. That's recognizing reality. Even if you were in a position to take care of her, if she needs 24/7, that means you can't leave the house. Now, unless you get some kind of in-house help that comes in, that can be very expensive. But even just 4 hours, 3 days a week, so you can go out and do what you have to do, it's going to come to a point where you just can't supervise her, and falls are a real risk. And he says it. I just noticed this line. She keeps falling, oh boy, and forgets to use her walker. I have a noisy 1.5-year-old child. I am currently disabled from work. I can't cover everything here. Should I just call the show, or is this enough? Well, if you call the show, we're going to get more information. Never enough. Obviously, it's not therapy. But the core question seems pretty clear. She's in a state, in terms of her mental compromising, that she can no longer be independent. And even if she were to come with you, and you said you're currently on disability from work, which I'm wondering, is that temporary? So you could say, yeah, I can be home until I have to go back to work. And then if I have to go back to work, then who's going to watch her? Now, this is written by a male, so I don't know what his wife's situation is in all this, but my guess would be she may be feeling, I don't think I can manage your mom. So they're faced with the decision of placement. Now, given that mom is confused, severe dementia, that would mean that probably it would be a very short period of time before she doesn't even realize she doesn't have a house anymore. I remember when my own mother-in-law had to come to our house because of a 5-day power outage in our neighborhood. Now, at that point, mom was probably moderate dementia. She had been able to live by herself and was still probably able to with some supervision. But she came to our house, and she stayed with us for 4 days or so. She forgot she had a house. She didn't realize that she had a home to go back to. So I think when someone's in a later stage of dementia, that the placement may initially breed some resistance. But it's probably going to be short-lived, my friend. So I think the decision for you is, how do you go about finding placement for her? It doesn't sound like she could be in assisted living unless there's a lot of extra services paid for through assisted living. If she's in a memory care unit, she may not be as severe as some of the people in that unit. But there's variability across the people. A friend of mine, our music director at our parish, is a very talented musician. And he and I go to St. Joseph Nursing Home, and we play. We play for the people. I don't have to worry anymore about fights breaking out like I used to have to when I played at the various supper clubs. And certainly the people are variable in how they appreciate the music. Some don't even know we're there. And others, you can see them tapping a toe and a finger from the memories they had from a long ago, and then others are perfectly with it. So it's a wide range, but that's all memory care, that particular group of folks. So, given that, you're going to have to probably start looking for someplace for her. I don't know if your question was, am I obligated to take care of her? Because if you're saying, I feel obligated, but I don't think it's realistic, that may be where you are. A lot of people feel obligated, but it's not realistic if, in fact, you have to work, you got a little kid, and the situation with your wife is unknown to me here, but that's another factor to take into consideration. Fortunately, it isn't difficult to find placements for someone going through dementia. It may be expensive, and you may have to figure out exactly how that's all going to be arranged and get some good financial advice on that. There are people who do this for a living, and they can tell you what you have to do regarding your mom's house, regarding paying down to the home till she gets to the point where she's on Medicaid because she really has nothing left financially. That's typically, sadly, where a lot of times it ends up. The house is sold, whatever retirement there was, whatever savings there was, is used to pay the monthly bill until that runs out, and then the state takes over. So that's where you are, I think, my friend. Dr. Ray.
We'll return after these messages.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
The following program is brought to you in part by MyCatholicWill.com. Surveys show that more than half of Americans do not have a will. At MyCatholicWill.com, it takes as little as 15 minutes to write your will and secure a legacy of faith. MyCatholicWill.com is the exclusive online destination for creating a Catholic will. The process of writing a will is simple and now more accessible than ever. MyCatholicWill.com, a legacy of faith for those you love.
He was a pope, a saint, and a doctor of the Church.
Matthew Bunsen and the Doctors of the Church.
Pope St. Gregory I the Great is one of only 4 popes honored as the Great. Among his many achievements was sending missionaries across Northern Europe, especially St. Augustine of Canterbury, who brought Christ to the people of England. In a pun, Pope Gregory called the English people angels. He died in 604.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
You like pizza? Me too. And for that, we can thank our friend Tom Monahan.
First, he starts with $900 and opens one pizza shop. Then it's worldwide, thousands of shops. But all this was just a warm-up for his greatest achievement yet. He built a university.
God inspired Tom to build up generations of men and women who have a hunger to reach the world for Christ. This place is Ave Maria University.
Visit avemaria.edu to see what's next.
I don't know if I have enough time to do another e-person. Let me look at some of these shorter ones here. I'm tired of hearing my teenager tell me how out of step I am with every other parent. Well, in the old days, you knew that that was basically flawed. That, in fact, probably many more parents in your social circle, or his, agreed with you. Parents were generally of a little more uniform mind, say a generation or two ago. Now, if you're trying to raise your kid with high faith-filled standards, you are going to be out of step in a lot of ways, in terms of when they get various technologies, in terms of social freedoms, in terms of expectations for help around the house, in terms of house rules and respect. I mean, you're just going to be very different. And the kids are going to look at the other kids and say, look, that's the norm. You're not the norm. Sarah's mom lets her date. Tina's parents brought her a car. Doesn't have to spend it. John doesn't have to spend allowance on school pies. I'm looking for ways to quiet her comparisons. I don't think you're going to quiet the comparison. I mean, you can stop it. You can basically say, you know, I think you're trying to hurt me with making these comparisons. And really, I think it's rude. So I don't want to hear any more comparisons. If I do, here's what I'm going to do about it. Every time, you're going to write 25 reasons you're grateful to live here. Or, if I do, you're telling me something. You're telling me that I'm making the right decision in not allowing you to do what Marlon's parents allow him to do, because you're obviously unhappy about it, and that shows maybe you're not as mature looking at this as I would like you to be. You can do that. You can say, it's just going to take longer now. You keep nagging me with these comparisons about that you don't have a smartphone yet, and it's only going to tell me that I'm on the right track, and I'm going to delay it even further. So keep it up. I'll get you one at your wedding rehearsal dinner. Maybe. Or maybe your 5th year anniversary. You don't necessarily, I mean, you can ignore the comparisons. And the problem is you got to be careful. Here's what's happening. Parents used to understand they were going to get comparisons. And they had the standard cliche parenting code, paragraph 4, subsection C. If Marlon's parents jump in the lake, are you going to jump in the lake too? Well, we don't run our house the way Hazel's parents run their house. They had standard comebacks with that. And the difference was they were confident in saying that. Just said it. They just said, this is our house, this is the way we do things. Now there's a bit more uneasiness in saying that, because more parents worry about how resentful their kid might get. In fact, you are out of step. In fact, your 13-year-old is the only one in her 8th grade classes that doesn't have the latest, greatest smartphone, an iPhone 29 or whatever it is that NASA uses to guide space rovers. So what happens? How long are you going to be able to stand up to that? And you worry, it isn't a matter of, I know I'm doing the right thing, so this is what I'm going to do. That's not it. And then you start to worry that they're going to get sneaky, or they're going to get deceptive, or they're going to get resentful, or they're just going to shut down and hate life and hate you and hate everything. See, that's what's happening. Parents are so afraid anymore, especially as they move into those teen years, because the culture around them has some very bad guidelines for the kinds of freedoms that kids should have at what ages. So if you're out of step, as this mother is saying, it isn't just a matter of, well, that's the way they do it and this is the way we do it. End of story. For a lot of parents nowadays, it's a little more worrisome than that. But I'm saying it shouldn't be. Thank you for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. Myself and Andrew Kruchek, my producer man. E-Person Monday coming to a close. Tomorrow, good Lord permitting, get a chance to talk to you ear to voice. I appreciate the calls. Walk with God and don't get out of step with Him.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.